Hello everybody, Clayton here at Etrailer.com. Here at Etrailer.com, we install, test, and review a lot of different products to help you as the customer make a more educated decision before you purchase. Today we're going to be working on a 2021 Ford F-450. We're going to be taking a look at, and I'll be walking you through how to install Torklift's SuperHitch Magnum trailer hitch receiver. You might be asking yourself, why do I need to add this trailer hitch receiver to the back of my truck if I'm using an Embed camper? And the simple reason is if you're using your standard hitch, you're not going to be able to use any ball mount accessories with your truck. So adding the Torklift SuperHitch is going to allow us to buy the Super Truss extension. That way we can still use our receiver tube off the back of our camper. The greatest benefit of adding this hitch and using the Super Truss is you'll be able to take things with you when you're on the road. So if you're going camping for the weekend, maybe you want to take your boat, you can tow that with a Super Truss. Or if you want to use a cargo carrier for a generator or any luggage, or maybe you want to take a bike rack with you, this is going to allow you to do so and create a little bit more cargo space in your truck or in the back of your camper. And since that camper is in the bed, that is going to take up a lot of your space to haul things. This is what our SuperHitch Magnum is going to look like installed. It's definitely for heavy duty applications. As you can see, it's pretty big, it looks really heavy duty. It's made out of really thick metal, nice and strong. It has a really nice dimpled black powder coat finish to make it look nice for a long time. A lot of our customer reviews have said that this hitch is awesome, even 2 or 3 years down the road, and it doesn't even look like it's been used. And as you can see, there are 2 receiver tube openings. The top one is going to be 2.5 with this sleeve that comes out to 2 inches, and the bottom is going to be 2 inches. So this is going to be pretty common. You'll be able to use it with a lot of different accessories while still using it with your Super Truss whenever you do have your camper in the bed of your truck. Right down here we're going to have our safety chain plate. This is a nice big opening. It'll work with your bigger safety chains, just like our Clevis hook here. Right here is going to be our 5/8 inch hitch pin hole. This is a very common size, so finding a pin is not going to be hard at all. And our kit actually is going to include 2 pins and clips, but if you did want to find a locking pin or clip, you can find those here at Etrailer.com. To take out your sleeve, you're just going to take out your pin and clip, and then simply slide your sleeve out of your receiver tube. Now I'll go ahead and get a couple measurements for you just to help you understand where the SuperHitch Magnum is going to sit on the back of your F-450. The measurement from the ground to the bottom part of our receiver tube opening is about 16.5 inches. You just want to keep that number in mind for ground clearance or whenever you're putting your ball in the raised or lowered position. And actually our ends on the SuperHitch here are going to be the same measurement, so you don't have to worry about those hanging down any more than the receiver tube. And our receiver tube opening sticks out past the end of our rear bumper, so you're not going to have to worry about any of those folding accessories. As far as our weight capacities are concerned, I had mentioned this is a very heavy duty hitch, and the weight ratings definitely reflect that. As far as our gross trailer weight rating, we're going to be at 20,000 pounds. That's going to be the weight of the trailer and the load included. And then our maximum tongue weight rating, which is going to be the amount pushing straight down on our receiver tube, is going to be 2,500 pounds. But you can use weight distribution using the Everest weight distribution system. That's going to knock our gross trailer weight rating up to 30,000 pounds and our tongue weight rating up to 3,000 pounds. Now keep in mind for the trailer weight rating, that's the weight of the trailer and the load included. But you always want to check with your Ford's owner's manual and make sure that your truck is capable of towing at those capacities. And if it's not, always go with the lowest number. Our SuperHitch Magnum is also going to have a higher weight capacity than the SuperHitch Hero. So if you are using it for those heavier duty applications, this is definitely going to be your way to go. Our Crosstube is going to be visible on our hitch. As you can see, it's pretty big. As I had mentioned, this is very heavy duty. The Crosstube is actually going to be 4 inches by 4 inches, so it's definitely pretty big. And in my professional opinion, this is going to be a huge upgrade to your F-450. Whether you're new to using an Embed camper, or even doing it for a while and just want to take a trailer with you or use a cargo carrier bike rack like I said, this is going to be a great option for you to look at. Now in terms of installation, getting it installed really is not that bad. The biggest part is going to be how heavy everything is. With that being said, I'll go ahead and show you how to get it installed now. To start our installation, we want to remove our 2 bumper support bolts on the back of our hitch here. We're going to use a 13mm socket. You can now repeat that same process on the other side. We're now going to have 2 21mm nuts on each side, located right here and right here. We can now take those off. Now we don't want to take these all the way off. We're just going to get it to where there's a couple threads on each side. Then we'll move over to the other side and get those loosened up as well. That way when we loosen both sides, the bumper can support itself. And now I just want to take one nut off of each side to where it's going to be supported on each side by one nut. With an extra set of hands, we just want to remove that nut on each side, then we can lift our bumper out of place. Now you want to be careful here because we do have a wiring harness connected, so then once you lift this off, we can disconnect our wiring. There's going to be a little tab here on your 7-way. You just want to click that and undo it. You're going to have one more plug here that kind of reaches back. You'll just want to push down on that tab and pull it off. Now we can remove our bumper. Our instructions aren't going to tell you to do this, but when you are removing this bumper, we're going to take a cam buckle strap. If you don't have a cam buckle strap, you can find one here at Etrailer. We're just going to loop it around the mounts for our bumper, run it through our factory safety chain loops on each side, and back to the bumper mount on this side. Then we'll just tighten that strap down and that'll support our hitch. We're going to have 2 bolts on the back of our hitch that we're going to need to remove. We're going to use a 24mm socket. You are going to want to grab a long breaker bar or ratchet just to help break these loose, as they are pretty tight. And if you're having trouble breaking this loose with your breaker bar, you can always grab your jack handle or a long pipe and then add it to the end of your breaker bar like so and use it as a cheater bar. That's going to help you get more leverage to break that bolt loose. For this inside bolt, you are going to need a ratcheting wrench once you get it broken loose, or just a box end wrench. But I do suggest using a ratcheting wrench because it's going to make life a whole lot easier and make this job quite a bit faster. I just want to get this all the way loose. And if you are having trouble, I suggest spraying some penetrating oil on there just to help loosen things up. We just want to save our hardware now. Before we get any farther, we want to make sure to remove our wiring harnesses from our hitch. We'll just grab a trim panel tool, kind of pop these tabs out of our hitch. This will just keep our wiring from getting damaged when we lower our hitch down. You want to make sure to do this on both sides. We now want to remove our 2 hitch bolts on this side the same way that we did on the passenger side. We're going to have 4 more bolts on each side to remove. We're going to have 2 here and then 2 just inside of our hitch opening. Again, you're going to need a breaker bar with probably a cheater bar on the end due to the high torque. We now have all of our hardware removed and our hitch is being supported by our strap and then 1 bolt that I left in on the front on each side. If you do this, it'll keep the front of the hitch from swinging down, hitting your exhaust, or possibly injuring you. So doing it this way is going to be a lot more safe. We want to grab something to support our hitch. In this case, we're going to be using a cart. But if you're doing it at home, you might want to grab a couple friends. Or if you're doing it on the ground, you can raise up a jack with a piece of plywood under it. Really anything that's going to help you catch that hitch once we loosen that hardware. We're now ready to loosen up our last bolts, just like so. We just want to undo our cam buckle strap, like so. And then we can just slide our hitch away from our truck. You do want to watch this wiring and make sure that it doesn't get stuck in your hitch. We're going to be reusing our factory hardware, which means we're going to be reusing our nut plates and our frame rail. Now these do get a little bit twisted whenever you are taking the bolts out, but that's no problem because they do move pretty easy in the frame. You can just grab a small flat blade screwdriver, or really anything that's going to be able to reach up into the frame. You just want to get those centered. You want to make sure to do that for all of them. Before we install our hardware, we want to make sure to add our 5/8 flat washer over our factory hardware like so. We're going to do this for all of our bolts. When we lift up our side plates, we want our flanges facing the inside and our square facing the back. It's going to be a good idea to grab an extra set of hands. With our extra set of hands, we just want to get our holes lined up and then get a bolt started on each side just to help support that side bracket. With that hardware started, we can let go and it will support itself. You'll repeat that same process on the other side. But now we're going to install the rest of our hardware, so that's going to be 2 up there, 1 more here, and then 2 back here. Now we want to leave it all loose until we get our center section installed. So I'll go ahead and do this on both sides. Now our center section is pretty heavy, so I decided to use the floor jack. It bounces on here pretty nice. If you are doing it at home, I would suggest having at least 2 or 3 people just to help get this lifted up and centered in position. We have all of our hardware installed on our side plates. As you can see, they're nice and loose. So we just want to slowly jack up our center section to where it's close to the same height. Now we just want to slide it close to position like so. Then we just want to pull out on our side plates and then push this in just a little bit more. And we just want to grab our hardware. We'll just kind of slide that through our side plate. Then on the other side we'll meet that with a split lock washer and a hex nut. I'm actually going to get the bottom on this side too. That way it's not supported by just one bolt. Then we'll shift the other side into place. Our instructions aren't going to tell you to do so, but you are going to have to lower the spare tire to make enough clearance for your hitch. So you just want to lower that down and out of the way, then we can slide our hitch into position. This square right here is going to fit into the opening in our side plate. We're just going to want to pinch out on our side plates, kind of just push our hitch into position. Like so. And we can just add our hardware. We're going to slide our hex bolt through, add our split lock washer, and our hex nut on the back. We'll repeat that same process for our 3 remaining holes on each side. Now I just want to come back and tighten down all of our hardware. We want to make sure that our hitch is centered while doing so. We'll use a 19mm socket and wrench to tighten down the bolts in our cross tube. We're now ready to come back and torque everything down to the amount specified in our instructions. You also want to make sure to torque down the bolts holding our cross tube. We're now going to need to move back to our bumper support bracket. We're going to have 2 bolts that we need to remove using a 21mm socket. With this nut removed, we'll reach around from the back side and grab that plate and totally remove it. We can now repeat that same process on the passenger side. We're going to grab our 1/2" bolt with a 1/2" flat washer. We're just going to slide this through this hole here, closest to this top corner. Then we're going to use those 2 openings from where we remove those nut plates. We're going to use the same hardware combination with that bolt and the flat washer. But on the top 2, we are going to add another flat washer like so. Then we can grab our frame bracket. We'll just slide that over like so. Add a flat washer, a split lock washer, and our hex nut. On the bottom, we're going to want to add our provided spacer. Then we can lift our bigger bracket up and over, just like so. Then we can grab a flat washer, a split lock washer, and our hex nut. We'll get that started. Our top bolt right above this, we're going to use the same hardware orientation that we did for this bolt. We can now repeat that same process on this side. Now I just want to come back and tighten down our hardware with a 19mm socket and wrench. Now I just want to come back and torque it down to the amount specified in our instructions. So as far as our hitch installation, everything is installed for our hitch. Now we just need to kind of zip tie our wiring up and out of the way. I went ahead and already did that. But when you're doing that, you can just raise your spare up and kind of move that wiring out of the way once you get your spare up and kind of get an idea where everything's going to sit. Now we'll lift our spare back up and then reinstall our rear bumper in the reverse order we took it apart. When reinstalling your bumper, you want to make sure to replug in your harness for your parking sensors and your 7-way connector, and make sure to add 2 bolts on both sides for our bumper connections. For our final step, we need to install our new hardware for our bumper support. We're going to grab our bolt, add a flat washer, slide that through the hole, and on the back side that's going to be met with a flat washer a split lock washer, and our hex nut. Now I just want to use a 14mm socket and wrench to tighten it down. With all of our components reinstalled and everything torqued down, we're now ready to hit the road. That's going to do it for our look at and the installation of the Torklift SuperHitch Magnum on our 2021 Ford F-450.